Hello, I'm Charlotte Cohen and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need on Friday the 12th of December. And what a weekend of action we have in store for you.
That you understand how big a game it is and what can happen in a few years down the line, and you can obviously write your own chapter in the club's history, so I think that's one of the key aspects that we want to do, really grab the opportunity with two hands.
The first silverware of the season is up for grabs as Celtic and St Mirren contest Sunday's League Cup final. And there's what could be a very consequential match in the Premiership on Saturday night.
I don't really care what people say, it's our fight is with ourselves. We've been disappointed in the last few weeks that we've just been okay, and okay doesn't get the games won in the Premier League, regardless who your opponent is.
League leaders Hearts travel to Falkirk to face the overperforming Bairns. And that's not the only vital Premiership match on Saturday, as last place Livingston host Dundee.
We've got a lot of games coming up that are going to be crucial. Am I concerned? Nah, not really. But it's getting to the stage where we all need to look at ourselves, including me as a group, because we need to start picking points up very, very quick.
We'll fill you in on all of this weekend's action.
The Scottish Football Podcast.
Alongside me this morning, Joelle Murray of Hibs and Scotland fame. Joelle, you were in my dream last night. You were in my dream about the podcast. So not to set you up for an interesting morning, but the podcast didn't go great in my dream. Not through any fault of yours. It was kind of on me, but that might be a nice little boost to your morning.
Well, I certainly didn't expect that from you this morning, Charlotte. But hopefully this morning's actual podcast is a reprieve and a much better version from the one that you dreamt of last night.
Fingers crossed. And alongside us, Rory Loy, striker of 1,000 clubs. Would you say is that a fair assessment, Rory?
1,000. Maybe pushing it. But, your typical journeyman, let's put it down to that one.
Love it. Well, we'll get into this weekend very shortly, but quickly gloss over last night. Stephen McGowan said on yesterday's podcast, actually, that he expected 3 defeats and another bruising night for Scottish football, and I suppose he was kind of right. Ferencváros beat Rangers 2-1, Celtic were beaten 3-0 at home by Roma, and Aberdeen were narrowly beaten 1-0 by Strasbourg. Rory, what did you make of Rangers' performance last night?
I thought they did okay to a point. They'll be massively disappointed that is their European campaign over at this point. 2 games left, dead rubbers, and it's now a case of focusing domestically. Now that may transpire to be, a silver lining, but I think at this moment in time, once the game's just finished last night, we've got to look at it and say, with the exploits of Celtic doing so well in Europe last year, with Rangers doing really well over recent years in Europe, it's a really, really big disappointment for Scottish football that Rangers are out at this stage and rock bottom of the table, because they have been so competitive. In terms of the performance, I thought first half they did really well. They get the goal. Obviously, lovely finish. It was tight for offside, but a really, really good finish. I thought they were well in the game, Rangers. Second half, after losing that goal right on half-time, that was a bitter blow. You had the commentator actually saying last night they need to get to half-time. They didn't, and they paid the price.
Celtic not out yet, but they're making it hard work for themselves. 3-0 at home to Roma. Joelle, what did you make of Wilfried Nancy's second game in charge?
Yeah, again, another disappointing one from a Celtic perspective. I think Wilfried Nancy's now the first manager there to lose first 2 consecutive games. And obviously another game trying to persevere with his formation, his style of play, which has obviously brought another defeat and has brought more frustrations across the Celtic fan base. So yeah, a disappointing start from him. I don't mind a manager trying to implement their style of play, their playing style. However, there needs to be a realistic approach. I think the balance across the back three, in particular, left-sided players. I think the lack of training time, time on pitch, has impacted their ability to really go out and perform that formation well. But look, they're professional footballers. They'll have played that formation at one point in their career. So, yeah, I think overall, very disappointing start to the Wilfred Nancy era at Celtic.
And Aberdeen narrowly beaten 1-0 by Strasbourg. Strasbourg missed a penalty. Mitov had to pull off a fair few big saves. Rory, how do you think Aberdeen will see that defeat?
Probably similar to Rangers' defeat, in that it was a narrow defeat. It wasn't the worst performance in the world, but at the same time, it is another defeat in the competition. They're at home as well. Two of our teams at home last night, and not coming away with any points at all. Rangers not coming away with any either. But in terms of Aberdeen, it was a narrow defeat, but it's been a disappointing campaign overall. If I'm being totally honest with you, the qualification through the Scottish Cup final, I'm not quite sure they were in a place where they were ready, given their finish to last season in the league, to go and compete in Europe. It's actually, strange that Aberdeen have managed to pick up some form during the period of time where they've got these European games in the league. So I think Jimmy Tillane will be looking to build on that domestically. It's just having games left in Europe that are dead rubbers are never ideal. But again, they were competitive enough, but they're just not good enough for the European stage at this point in time. Aberdeen or Rangers, to put it mildly.
If you want to hear more about last night's games, you can check out last night's Scottish Football podcast on BBC Sounds for the full debrief. We'll move on to domestic action. We'll start with what is, without doubt, the biggest match of the weekend. Celtic and St Mirren meet in the League Cup final. Joelle, you mentioned a poor start for the Nancy era at Celtic. I mean, this test on Sunday just kind of got even bigger, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the cup final is a massive game for Celtic. It's a must win. Let's be honest. I don't think that's been dramatic. It's a must win for them. I think they're so used to season upon season winning league titles, winning cups. So the tide needs to turn on Sunday. It certainly does. And certainly, as I say, I don't think it's dramatic, seeing it's a must-win game. However, St Mirren coming into the game not on the best of form. Stephen Robinson urged his players to have faith over fear. And of course, Rory will know it, I know it. Cup finals, it's form goes out the window. It's a one-off game. So they will be really approaching that game buoyed by Celtic's poor results, poor performances, but for me it is indeed a must-win game for Celtic on Sunday.
Yeah, Rory, how much as a player can you take from seeing a team that you're about to face in a high-pressure cup final struggling for form?
Yeah, they'll want to take advantage of that, of course, but I think Stephen Robinson will look at his squad and his team, and as Joelle touched on, they've not been in great form. They won last week against Dundee United at home, so they can't control how Celtic perform at the end of the day. They can get close to them, get tight to them, make it difficult for them, but St Mirren, when I played, video analysis and things, it was a big kind of push on that, but I didn't like if we did too much analysis on the other team because, it kind of takes away from what you're trying to do. And I do believe that St Mirren have got the players that if they get it right on the day, they're capable of being very competitive and coming away with the result, despite everything that's going on at Celtic. So, yes, they'll want to do well in the first half hour. Yes, they'll want to try and turn the crowd against Celtic in terms of their fans. And yes, they'll want to do all the things we speak about, stay in the game, etc., etc., etc. But Stephen Robinson will believe that if he can get it right and his team can get it right, irrespective of what's going on at Celtic, they stand a chance at lifting that cup. I think the problem from Wilfred Nancy's point of view is that now that he's decided to go with the formation that he plays, if he'd started and if he'd come out and said, look, we're going to ease them into this new formation, and we're going to stick to what we've been doing because it's been successful under the interim manager, then that's fine. But I think to start with the way he plays and then take a step back and go, oh no, I'm just going to revert to what Martin O'Neill was doing, I think that'll stick in his wick a little bit, Wilfred Nancy, to do that. So I think they'll play the same system on Sunday. But defeat, and we live in Glasgow, there's going to be major questions asked. It's a cup final, so Celtic will expect, given their record in cup finals, to go and win the game and lift the cup. How they do it remains to be seen, but I think to get that first win, to do it at Hampden, that might just be enough to of a catalyst to propel Wilfred Nancy's ideas and thoughts and embed them into the minds of the Celtic fans. But I agree with Joelle. I think anything less than a win on Sunday and the club in general are going to be at loggerheads again.
I suppose a lot of the focus this week has been and will probably continue to be on Celtic, particularly after last night. But St Mirren have obviously done so well to get to this point, have a real chance of doing something. But league business hasn't been going great. I don't think they've won a game since September. Do you think, Joelle, it's fair to say that they've maybe underperformed in the league this season?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair to say, Charlotte. I think, especially at home, clubs used to dread going there, going to Paisley, because it was a real fortress. Their home form in previous seasons was really good, but I think picking up their first league win since September, with the 2-0 victory over Dundee United at the weekend, is really great for them. It's hopefully, or they're probably hoping to use that as a catalyst to really propel themselves going forward in the league. However, I think they need to take great heart from the last two games they've played against Celtic, both 1-0 losses, I believe, quite late goals. So they've got good players. They beat a very good team in the semi-final to get to this cup final. I think they're first since 2013. So they'll be looking to use Sunday's game as a catalyst, as I say, to really turn their season around, because in Stephen Robinson, they've got a fantastic manager, great experience in cup competitions, and they've really got good players. Mark O'Hara, their captain, of course, has been kind of out with a little bit of injury. I think I read the other day that the game on Sunday might come too soon, but he's a real talisman for them, a true captain in every sense of the word. So, yeah, good players within the squad, and as I say, they'll be hoping Sunday can really be used as a catalyst to really transform their season.
As you mentioned, Joelle, they've run Celtic close in the last couple of games that they've had. Celtic's goals in those coming very late on. Rory, they'll surely take confidence from those performances that they've been able to put in against Celtic.
Yeah, I mean, quite possibly. They know that they can compete, but they've been competitive against Celtic. I'm not saying hasn't been individual games throughout the course of Stephen Robinson's tenure where Celtic have been by far and away the better side and won the game comfortably. But overall, St Mirren have been very competitive against Celtic over the last few years versus their history against Celtic. So they will go in believing that if they can turn up with the form Celtic are in at this moment in time. I mean, even under Martin O'Neill, the last home game against Dundee, they were slightly underwhelming as well. So they're not coming in great form. However, Celtic do have the players that if they turn up and turn it on, it becomes very, very difficult for St Mirren. I think in previous years you would have said that if Celtic turn up, they win. I don't think it's quite as clear-cut as that now. I think Celtic can still turn up, but St Mirren can still be competitive. So I think they'll look to the Motherwell game at Hampden. I covered that game for Sportsound, and St Mirren were very, very good last night. Clinical, really clinical. And that is one thing they'll need to be on Sunday. If they want to win the game, they need to take the chances that come along. But yes, they'll pinpoint the two performances against Celtic as a highlight of and highlight them going into the cup final. But again, I don't think Stephen Robinson will want to spend too much time on what they've done against Celtic and what Celtic are going to play and what they're going to do. Yes, of course, you do your due diligence, but the message will be if we turn up and play, we have an opportunity to lift the first domestic cup of the season.
Okay, on to Saturday night then, and Falkirk host league leaders Hearts. Joelle, this could be a massive game. Hearts with the chance to go 6 points clear at the top of the table.
Yeah, an absolutely massive game. I think they'll be looking to go there and pick up the 3 points. Of course they will, but I don't think it will be that easy. Falkirk, a team that have probably surprised everyone this season with the way they're playing. Currently sitting in 7th with 21 points right in amongst it. But yeah, Hearts have had an outstanding start to the season. Collectively, they're playing really well. They look like they're a team that play with no fear, regardless of who the opposition is. They've of course got their strikers scoring goals, and I think Swallow in goal, 6 clean sheets and 12 appearances has been massive as well. So I think at the kind of top and bottom end of the pitch, they've got top class players who are performing week in, week out, and I think that is really one of the main reasons why they're sitting where they're sitting and playing the football that they're playing. So yeah, a very interesting game on Saturday night, 8:00 kickoff. Going to Falkirk Stadium, 8:00 on a Saturday night. I don't know if many will fancy that, but yeah, it will be an interesting game.
And I suppose that win over Celtic probably came at a really good time for them. They'd been struggling a little bit, but to go to Celtic Park, get a victory, Rory, they'll be desperate to back that up, won't they?
Yeah, I mean, if they consider themselves genuine series title contenders, well, as we sit here on the 12th of December, they're top of the league. So at this stage, they've got to be in the conversation. You need to win as many games as you can. Yes, going to St Mirren in isolation and getting a point, I don't think is a bad point. You're never going to go through the season winning every single game of the year. So I think that in isolation was fine. You know, you've got your mistake from Swallow against Kilmarnock, which mistakes have been few and far between from Swallow, to be fair. They draw that game. They draw against Dundee United as well. All of a sudden, they start to stack up a little bit. And yes, going to Celtic Park will have given them a real shot in the arm. They need to continue to do what they were doing at the start of the season and take care of business elsewhere. As I said, the odd draw here and there is not a disaster because there's some tough games in this league. But if you are going to beat Celtic twice and you're going to beat Rangers at Ibrox already in your first 3 meetings with the Old Firm this season, then, you know, it would be criminal not to go and back it up and, you know, throw away points against teams that you feel that you are better than and should be beating. And that's no disrespect to Falkirk, who have been excellent this season. But Hearts are top of the league. They've got ambitions to go on and be as competitive as they can right to the wire. And I just feel that if they are to do that, this festive period's huge. And I think they need to start winning these games and stop dropping points in these games, because at some point you would imagine Celtic will get their act together. I don't know if Rangers are capable of getting their act together fully, but you know, I just think Hearts need to, come the turn of the year, still be top of the league if they have got a chance of going on and winning it.
Tune in to the Saturday show from 9:00 on Radio Scotland, where the guests include snooker legend John Higgins and dart star Peter Wright. Right, well, let's move on to the rest of the weekend's action. Cracker at Livy, they host fellow strugglers Dundee. I mean, Joelle, a win here could be vital for Livingston in kind of stopping them from dropping away at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, it's a massive game, not only for Livingston but for Dundee as well. Two teams, 11th and 12th in the league, not doing too well. I think to put it bluntly, not doing too well. But yeah, I think Livingston will be looking to this game to try and get the 3 points and close that gap, because if not, if it's a Dundee win, the gap gets bigger, and I think as early as in the season, I don't see a way back for them if they get beat tomorrow. So yeah, a big game for both teams, but in my opinion, for Livingston in particular, they've just won one of their opening 15 league games this season. The form books aren't great reading for them. So yeah, a big game there tomorrow.
And Dundee as well have been kind of struggling to build consistency. Rory, how do you see them getting on against Livy, who we've seen can be very difficult to play against?
Well, I suppose we're here to give our opinions and cast predictions, but see with Dundee, it's really difficult to do so because they seem to go through poor runs and then pull an iron out the fire from absolutely nowhere and get a great win. So it is a huge game tomorrow. I think Livingston have merited more points than they've got. However, it's not transpired that way. That doesn't get you points on the board. So Livingston will be confident. If they turn up and play to their means, then they've got enough to beat Dundee. They do not want to be cast adrift. So massive game for both teams.
And Dundee United have also been toiling at the moment. They have a really tough test in high-flying Motherwell. Joelle, the Steelmen just seem to be really enjoying playing football at the moment.
Yeah, they do. And for someone who isn't a Motherwell fan, I've enjoyed watching them. I think they're the form team this season. By far the team, in my opinion, that's the best team to watch. And I think their transformation has been incredible. 8 games unbeaten in the league, following that 3-0 win over Livingston at the weekend, 4 consecutive clean sheets. I think they've been tremendous this season. I think their results, their performances have been impressive, but equally so the squad rotation. There's players coming in and going out, and you don't see any change in the playing style, the performance levels. Every single player that takes to that pitch knows their roles and performs it almost perfectly every single time. Of course, they're going to lose their talisman, Maswiniche, to the AFCON very soon. But I don't think that will hinder them or stop this fantastic run that they're on, because they have the quality to come in and replace them. So yeah, a team that I've been really impressed with so far this season.
We talked earlier on about Aberdeen's European game. They've host Kilmarnock on Sunday. Obviously, last night didn't go the way they will have wanted. Disappointing result, but Rory, in the league, as we kind of touched on, they look a different proposition at the moment.
Yeah, they've been getting over the line in some games. I don't think that their performances have, pulled up any trees or set the heather alight by any stretch of the imagination. They've had some good moments, and they've got good players on their team who can bring that moment of quality, as Kevin Nisbet showed. Jesper Karlsson's capable as well. So they're getting to a stage now, Aberdeen, where they're slowly starting to build confidence. And I'm pleased for Jimmy Tilleen, because the manager merry-go-round in every country these days is becoming crazy. So I'm glad he's managed to, get a grip in the ground again in terms of his momentum and the confidence within the squad. And, Sunday offers up another test. And if they can win that, then all of a sudden Aberdeen find themselves within touching distance of your Hibs, of your Motherwells, etc., depending on results. So he'll see it as a huge opportunity to gain 3 points.
And Kilmarnock are still just really struggling. The goalkeeper's position seems to be a bit of a problem for them. Joelle, you'll know, being a defender, it must be difficult when you're kind of, I suppose, having to change your goalkeeper, not really knowing who's going to be behind you. not maybe having as much confidence as you would as with someone that you play consistently with?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a key position on the pitch, and the kind of turmoil they've faced in that position. Of course, the circumstances that's happened from, not great or ideal at all. But I think having that change from week to week isn't great. As a defender, knowing that you've got a confident keeper behind you, somebody that's going to communicate, help structure and organise. And I think when that changes, and has changed so often, it's quite unsettling. So yeah, I think you could potentially put that down, or partially down, to their poor run of form. I think they've lost 7 in their last 8 league visits to Aberdeen. So instantly that doesn't give you great hope or is good reading. But yeah, I think they've faced a lot of injuries. We spoke about Celtic's injury crisis. I think Kilmarnock's injuries in key pivotal positions at both ends of the pitch certainly hasn't helped them this season. So yeah, they'll be looking to go up to Aberdeen and get some points, because at the moment it's not great reading for the Kilmarnock fans at the moment.
Well, that's all we've got time for this morning. Many thanks to Joelle and Rory, and thank you very much for listening. The weekend football coverage starts tonight at 7:30 on the BBC Scotland channel, with coverage of Ayr United and St Johnstone. Remember, we are here with new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast bright and early every day, so make sure you don't miss out. Subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on in your phone. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you again very soon.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.